receivers on Daily Fantasy Football, look no further.
He's in! Patriots win the Super Bowl!
The stats have been compiled. The research is done. So come on and win a mill with D-Will.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy D-Will, and this is another episode of Win a Mill with D-Will. I'm really excited. We're getting ready to kick off the year. The very first games have just happened preseason, and I'm just excited. I'm excited about the possibilities. Today, we're going to jump into quarterbacks. So during the preseason time, we're going to be talking about different positions. This week is quarterbacks. Next week, we're going to target running backs and then the wide receivers. We'll do the tight ends after that, and then even get into the defenses. And so for right now, we're going to talk about quarterbacks. But before we get into quarterbacks, I want to shout out my sponsors, which is DirecTV. And let's just face it, if you want to be a professional at daily fantasy football, then you need DirecTV NFL Sunday Ticket. You gotta have it. You are able to watch every game every Sunday. In order to get it for a very low rate, look, you can get $45 for DirecTV at your house by just calling 855-946-6343. Again, the number is 855-946-6343. You can get NFL Sunday Ticket plus 155 channels. They'll even throw in your movie channels for the first 3 months for absolutely free. So, I mean, you can't beat that deal. $45 for DirecTV, and that includes all the channels that you want to watch, all the channels that your family wants to watch, over 150 channels, plus NFL Sunday Ticket, so you can watch every game every Sunday. Well, it's time to jump right into it, and we're going to rank the quarterbacks. And I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm getting ready to upset some people because I am not the biggest fan of the same people that you guys are the big fans of. I just got to be honest with you, because my number one quarterback is not Aaron Rodgers, and it is not Tom Brady. And I have a couple of very good reasons for it. But my number one quarterback this year is actually Russell Wilson. Out of the last 4 years, Russell Wilson has been one of the top 3 quarterbacks. Actually, it's 3 of the last 4 years. He's been one of the top 3 quarterbacks. That tells me that he is very consistent, and I like consistent players. You know, we talked about last year when Le'Veon Bell was talking about why he thought he was the number one running back, because it was always him in the top 2 conversations. It was either him and Zeke, or it was him and another running back, but it was always him in the conversations. And so that showed consistency for a running back. And I have to say the exact same thing for Russell Wilson. He is consistently at the top. He knows how to score points. Now, I'm going to be honest, he may not, in my opinion, have the same team that he had when he was winning the Super Bowl, but Russell Wilson is going to score you points, and he's going to score you points on a consistent basis. Now, we talked about Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is easily, to me, the next best choice. And I know to a lot of people he is the first choice. Only reason he's not number one on my list this year, I'm going to just tell you right now, he's not number one only because of the injury. I live in Dallas, so unfortunately, I've seen these type of injuries go bad for a very long time, and I'm very nervous that it's going to be a situation where he ends up injured again. And that type of injury is going to set him back. And if that's somebody that you're now, again, we're talking about daily fantasy football. If you're in a fantasy football league, that may be more of a problem to you, because injuries are a major problem. But just to shout out another one of my sponsors, RotoSurance is somebody that you need to call, because you can protect your fantasy football investment against your star player's injury. And all you have to do is go to RotoSurance and buy their insurance for your players. And that's right, if they actually get injured during the season, you will get all of your entry fee money back. It's insurance that protects your investment. And if you want to save 20% off of that insurance, then you can do so by using the code DWILL. That's DWILL. D as in dog, WILL. All caps when you go to rotosurance.com. Okay, get your insurance over there. And yes, you can get RotoSurance insurance for your daily fantasy football league. You can get the Roto Assurance for your daily fantasy football. For those people who wanted to know, yes, you can, and they will pay you all of your DraftKings or FanDuel money back if your player actually gets hurt. And I believe they have to get hurt in the first half in order for that to work. But you can go to rotoassurance.com, get all the information, and use the code DWILL, DWILL, all caps, to be able to get it taken care of. Very next on the list, number 3 is Tom Brady. My problem with Tom Brady, honestly, at the beginning of the year, I feel like he's going to be a perfect choice at any given time to be able to choose. He's obviously going to be one of the top tier quarterbacks. There's only really 3 in the top tier, and that is Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, and Aaron Rodgers. But I did notice that Tom Brady kind of fell off at the end of the year last year, and I'm thinking maybe because he's getting tired from the age. And if that's something that happened last year, then I expect for it to happen even earlier this year. Do I expect him to still be better than a lot of quarterbacks? Absolutely. I just don't feel like he can be the top of the list anymore because of his age and the fact that he fell off last year. Now, he could prove me totally wrong. And again, when we start to get into week 1, he's just as good of a choice as Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson and we'll start to look at the defenses that they're playing as we start to make those decisions on a daily basis. But I'm going to say that Tom Brady, also, although he is a top quarterback in the league, he's not my number 1 quarterback, and it's strictly because of age. Now, if you want to talk about age and somebody who's still doing big things even though he's getting older, then Drew Brees with the New Orleans Saints is going to be somebody that you got to talk about, because Drew Brees to me would be the number 4 quarterback, and there's a lot of debate about that, whether that would be your number 4 or not, but unfortunately that's who I'm going with. I would say that Drew Brees would be your number 4 quarterback. Number 5, and I know no one's going to agree with me here, and I really hate to agree with myself because I'm not a Philadelphia Eagles fan, but Carson Wentz. I am a big proponent of Carson Wentz not having a sophomore slump with the injury. They also have a lot of weapons. That's one of the reasons why I feel like he's going to come back and be really, really, really good. Another rookie last year who got injured, much like Carson Wentz, is Deshaun Watson with the Houston Texans. And let's just face it, Deshaun Watson is going to throw the football a lot. I'm talking about a lot, because their defense is horrible. And if you have a quarterback like Deshaun Watson, who is going to be throwing the football a lot, using his legs a lot with running, he has a lot of talent in the wide receiver core around him. And I just feel like Deshaun Watson is going to be somebody who is going to score you a lot of points. Deshaun Watson will be one of those quarterbacks that you can take early, you can take late. He's going to continue to score those points for you. Andrew Luck is going to be my number 7, and I know he has a huge question mark around him. People are wondering where he is. I believe that Indianapolis is going to be very much so a contender this year with Andrew Luck behind the center, and so he's definitely going to be one of the choices that I choose. We're going to continue on to our number 8 pick, which is Ben Roethlisberger. Now, I'm just telling you that my only problem with Ben Roethlisberger is that at the beginning of the year, I don't think Le'Veon Bell is going to be as good as he is once he gets 2 or 3 games under his belt. And that's just it. That's the only thing that I'm saying. Last year, if you notice, it took Le'Veon Bell a couple of games under his belt before he really got into the swing of things, and that really hurts Ben Roethlisberger and his numbers. And another thing about Ben Roethlisberger is that you want to take him when he's at home. Because at home in Pittsburgh, he averages 20 plus points per game. But when he's on the road, he typically has less than 15. And that is a stat that is consistent over the last 4 years. So I can't think of another quarterback who's doing that. I mean, you're talking about somebody who can get 20 plus points at home consistently, but if he's on the road, he's not getting you anything more than 15, and typically it's less than that. And that's a scary situation, but that's something that you do need to know if you do end up choosing Ben Roethlisberger, in a fantasy football game. Then you want it to be a game that he's at home, because that's when he's going to score the most points. Cam Newton is going to round off the top 10. He's actually at number 9. And then my number 10 person is somebody who I really, really, really want to bring all the way up to 5, but I just could not convince myself to do that. But that's Garoppolo over in San Francisco. Like, I really feel like that you're going to get a surprise out of this young man. You're going to, in my opinion, this is somebody who trained under Tom Brady. He is going to give you some similar numbers, even though he doesn't have what you would consider top guns around him as far as the wide receivers. He does have some decent or good wide receivers around him. And if you just have a regular fantasy football league that you're in, it's not the Daily Football League, you may not want to reach for him, but he is going to get you more points than, say, a Phillip Rivers or somebody like that, in my opinion. I'd rather have a Jimmy Garoppolo than Phillip Rivers, in my opinion. And, you know, the thing about reaching, if you're not in a daily football or a daily fantasy football sport, I don't like reaching for quarterbacks, because honestly, the difference between Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady and your Garoppolos and your Cam Newtons and your Andrew Lucks of the world is really only about 4, maybe 5 points. And when you think about the disparity between, let's just say, your top wide receivers, your top running back, Le'Veon Bell, Zeke, Elliott, and then DJ, if you talk about them as compared to your 9 and 10 running back, those points are going to be somewhere around, 10, 11 points. So I'd rather reach up and grab a good running back or a good wide receiver before I reached up and grabbed a good quarterback, because any of the top 10 quarterbacks are going to be within about 4 points of each other when it's all said and done in a fantasy football league. But even though DraftKings and FanDuel is open during the preseason, I'm not a big proponent of playing preseason football for money. I think it's way too big of a risk that you don't really have a whole lot of stuff to go with. Although I will say that there are a couple of rookies. Michael Gallup should be able to do some things in the upcoming preseason game. I think that Baker Mayfield is going to get a little bit of or a lot of time. They're going to really want to see what he has to offer. I like, obviously Saquon Barkley, but I don't think he's going to get a whole lot of time. I've already mentioned Michael Gallup, tight ends that people really have on their radar, like Rico Gathers, who people are going to want to try to see what they're doing. There are some players obviously in preseason that you can say, hey, okay, these players are going to get a good look, and I think that they're going to do good, but I think it's too risky to really put your money into it for preseason. So that's why during these first 4 preseason weeks, we're just going over the individual players. Next week, please tune in, because we're going to start to talk about running backs, and then there is a large disparity when it comes to running backs, who you should pick first. A lot of people on Facebook, talking about their fantasy football leagues. They're going number 4. Who should they get? Should they get Zeke? Should they get DJ? We're going to talk about all of that next week for those who have later fantasy football drafts. So until then, I'll holla at you. It's your boy D Will, and I'm out.